Well, today we're talking about a movie that became a bit of a cult classic since it was released in 1990. Interestingly enough, this movie was actually finished production in 1987, but the bankruptcy of Empire Pictures pushed the release back to 1990. The movie I'm talking about is Robot Jox. The film wasn't received well upon its release for a few reasons, but for now, let's just react to it and take a trip down memory lane. Robot Jox is one of those movies that was a daily occurrence on cable, and I watched it every time.
Here at the Confederation playing field in Siberia.
I actually like movies with opening narration. Visually, this movie's kind of a mixed bag. There's some really cheesy effects and some pretty good ones, and some pretty good stop motion too. This movie actually starts out with the bad guy being an asshole, which is always a good setup for a bad guy. This is where we get our first look at actor Gary Graham as the main character Achilles. You might remember Gary Graham as basically a TV legend. And I also forgot that he was in the Alien Nation TV series and TV movies. I might have to talk about that one day. I loved the theatrical movie Alien Nation. The TV show was okay, not as good as the movie though. We also have Michael Aldridge, who was very prevalent in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. He basically played the same character in any TV show or movie he was in, but he's a very recognizable face. I was surprised to learn he died in 1997. It's supposed to be 50 years in the future. I don't know 50 years from when.
Damn Tubies.
Now, Tubies refers to all these other warriors. They're all like genetically modified humans, basically test tube babies.
You ain't using my DNA to make no Tubies.
Could we just skip the middleman and make a direct deposit?
I wonder if this place has an HR department. They gotta be going crazy right now.
In your last battle, the Vasilia fight, you're clearly overmatched. Then one perfectly placed laser blast turned the tide in your favor.
I know.
In an instance of decent writing and foreshadowing, this actually becomes very relevant later in the movie.
Kill that cunt!
These folks got future COVID. This movie was absolutely punching above his weight, and I really appreciate that part of it. Now, there's actually a lot of runtime padding in this movie. It's less than an hour and 25 minutes long in total, and just the scene of Achilles getting ready to get into the mech and then taking his first step is a total of 7 minutes. But then again, it's a production that was trying to stretch the budget as much as possible, so I can kind of appreciate it. At the very least, it's not boring. You see, a scene like this, obvious green screen, but it still looks pretty cool. This is well before CG, so they make good use of practical effects. And I think the overall robot designs are pretty cool. Seems kind of insane that they have stands with spectators in the middle of this giant robot fight. I'm foreshadowing. Now, I've always been a fan of stop motion, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about this movie. So apparently these stands are laser proof, and these lasers can actually hurt the mechs, which means they're pretty powerful. I'm foreshadowing again. So this is when it's first revealed that there apparently is a spy between the organizations or the governments. This is important again later.
I thought the green laser was a secret weapon.
Hard to keep secrets in this business. Too many damn spies.
And the rules of these fights are a lot like Battletech, which I've been playing a lot recently, where it kind of goes into phases. There's like a movement phase, and then a weapons phase, and now there's a hand-to-hand phase. Uh-oh, he's headed for the bleachers. He better protect the people. And yeah, why are there spectators, and why aren't those stands robot-proof or laser-proof? Like, there was no forethought into this? They didn't think that at any point a robot would fall and smash hundreds of people. Seems like we do not have our shit together 50 years in the future. Now, the hearing about that disaster is happening 6 hours after the incident. So I guess in the future they do have a few things together, like immediate judgment on situations like this. The judges in this hearing are cold as shit.
Although it is tragic that many people lost their lives in this incident, that tragedy is irrelevant. 2, the motivation of Achilles in choosing to block the weapon is also irrelevant.
So the match has been declared a draw. and the fight for Alaska will continue in 1 week.
Yeah! 1 week, you're mine. I'll kill you dead.
I'm not fighting.
Our boy Achilles is all distraught over what happened, so he decides to quit. Now, of course, our test tube kids, they're a little excited about this. I wonder if it was a stylistic choice to make them all light-skinned, like the same complexion. I think that's kind of weird.
You can't even read your goddamn contract. How do you know?
I can't read, but I'm not dumb. Don't pull that shit on me.
How in the hell do you let somebody pilot a billion-dollar robot and they can't even read? Like, imagine a F-35 pilot who can't read. Like, this sounds ridiculous. What's going on in the future? These future parties look live as shit. Now, if there's one way that movies cheat their runtime, is they show you footage that already happened and then call it a flashback. But this is Achilles kind of having PTSD about what happened earlier. Now that Achilles has retired, the Tubies have to train to see which one of them is going to fight Alexander next week. I guess they don't have a need for windshield wipers in the future. I mean, this car flies, so it just stands to reason that the windshields might get wet. Now, of course, Achilles has gotten some pushback about his retirement. People think he's a coward, so he's feeling a bit depressed about it.
We're having real meat tonight. To celebrate.
Damn, beans and franks. Now, anytime I watch this movie, I've always wondered why this obstacle course was so dangerous. I mean, I was in the Army, we've done confidence courses, but at the end of the day, it wasn't deadly. I mean, you know, it was a little dangerous, but this particular obstacle course seems really dangerous. And if you're going to spend that much money on these Tubies, you should probably work to protect them a little more. I mean, the movie doesn't really address it, but by the look on her face, that dude died. Once Achilles realizes that Athena is going to be the pilot for the next fight, he decides he's going to unretire because he doesn't want her to get killed. So Matsumoto discovers that Tex has been the spy all this time.
Yeah, I'll be damned. You got me.
And in classic movie fashion, Matsumoto loses the gun and gets shot in the face. But not before he manages to hit the record button. Smart move. Back to our two main characters. Athena tries to trick Achilles by seducing him because she actually wants to fight. So she's going to drug him. They're going to have a little fight. She's going to win and sneak off and steal the mech so that she can fight Alexander. This is the most obvious stuntman. Now, slight continuity error here. No one in this movie up till now has had a tinted screen on their helmet. I think it's just really convenient. Obviously, you know, it's not Achilles. Everyone thinks it is. It's Athena. I just think it's a pretty lazy way to hide the identity of the person in the suit.
Go get him, Commander.
So apparently this guy knows what Achilles' ass feels like because when he smacked it, he knew that wasn't Achilles. This is the point in the movie when you realize you haven't seen a robot fight since the beginning. Now, Tex has already lied and told everyone that Matsumoto killed himself.
What? Killed himself. He was a spy.
But he's got a surprise coming. Now, while Athena's watching the top secret weapons briefing, the recording of Matsumoto being murdered by Tex is being played on the monitor.
I'll see you hang for this.
I'll see you in hell.
And Tex says, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Damn! He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
Alexander's debuted his new robot. I actually think it's a pretty cool design. You know, I gotta give this movie points for, you know, creativity. We do get some more of that cool stop motion. Like I said, this movie isn't great, but it's definitely entertaining. Athena manages to cut off one of Alexander's arms, and this actually is a little bit of foreshadowing and a callback to what happened earlier in the movie. You'll see what I mean in a second. But Alexander ain't done. I don't know what engineer came up with this weapon because I can't see how it's honestly that useful except for this specific use case, but whatever. At this point, Achilles has had enough of this shit, and he's gonna try to go jump in the mech, beat Alexander, and save Athena.
I'm gonna get in this thing, and I'm gonna kick your ass!
So these guys end up flying into space, which is objectively kind of cool. I mean, this movie came out in 90, it was made in 87. They did the best they could with the budget, so stretching out the fight by sending it to space is probably a good idea. It adds variety to the fight without costing them that much, probably. I do think it's kind of funny that Achilles can't read, but he knows how to fly into space. After taking damage in space, they fly back down to Earth, kind of crash land, and Achilles transforms his mech into a tracked vehicle? Okay. This crazy engineer again, like, who's the guy that came up with the dick saw? So after escaping the dick saw, Achilles takes shelter in the sawed-off right arm of Alexander's mech. And in a callback to early in the movie, Achilles wires the arm to fire the fist at Alexander's mech. I mean, standing behind a literal missile when it fires is probably a bad idea, but it still looks cool. You'd obviously have to ignore all laws of physics to believe that that just happened. It is a movie, so you can suspend your disbelief. But, I mean, think about it. If that rocket took off with that much velocity, the section that stayed on the ground would have flown backwards with equal velocity, and Achilles should be dead. Where could he possibly have come from? This is lazy writing again. At least show him ejecting from the mech before it exploded. So they end up having a hand-to-hand fight, which I believe they should have anyway, instead of, like I said, building billion-dollar mechs to fight each other. Why not just have one-on-one human fights? But anyway, it ends up being a draw, and they decide to be friends? I don't even know. The end. That's Robot Jox. There's actually a lot to enjoy about this movie. By no means is it perfect, but it is a cheesy good time. You can stream it for free on, I think, Pluto and maybe Tubi, and possibly YouTube. But either way, it's easy to find. Give it a watch. It's a short movie. It's really entertaining. It's really cheesy. There are some bad parts, but you can get over that. I mean, this movie did come out in 1990, and it's kind of a low-budget film. So you're getting exactly what you expect. Anyway, if you like the content, like, share, subscribe, and I'll be back soon with more.
I'll see you in hell.